Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of ParaDeisos, where if you change your thoughts, you can change the world. That is right. That is right. My name is Dennis, for those of you who don't know, who are joining us for the first time. And today is Thursday. And you know what that means? Yes, that is right. It is Trading Thursday. Today's guest is an insurance agent for State Farm, a trading experts alpha member, and most impressively, a marathon runner. Everyone, please welcome Andy Hsu.
Hey everyone.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. I know we have quite a few things to talk about, and some that I'm very, very excited to be talking about. So let's jump right in and dig into some trading info. So can you talk to us about when you first got interested in the market?
Okay. All right. So my first ever trade, well, my dad's a financial advisor. Just letting you know a couple background.
Yeah.
So I kind of like grew into it. I had a couple internships with financial firms, and kind of find my way into trading.
Nice.
But I never actually did any trading until I'd like to say 2015. So like about 4 years ago, and I never actually really took it seriously because I was in college back then. So I never really got to do any actual trading until probably about a year ago. But I placed a couple solid trades back then from 2015, and that's when I really had some major success. But I still really didn't know what I was doing at all back then.
So how did you go about trying to find the right place to learn about trading?
Oh boy. Okay, so I actually went across a couple places. Before I came across Trading Experts, that is. So I found Trading Experts at the beginning of this year, 2019. And I was looking around. You know what? I did a couple, I made the dumb money move mistakes that they always mention. And I did some penny stock trading for like maybe a week. And then it was like, oh my God, you know what? I can't do this anymore. It's like you're bleeding too much. It's like, if you don't know what you're doing, don't definitely follow what they say and learn before you trade. That's number one most important thing that I've learned from them. And so I came across a couple of people that they don't have a fond liking of, but I had to go through the ringer, find out for myself the hard way. I went to Clay Trader first, which is a community. They don't actually help you at all. They just like throw alerts out there, and it's like, it's not really a community. It's just like, oh, you know what? I paid for a bunch of alerts. It's like, okay, I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
I guess I'll buy it. And then it's like, oh, well, you don't tell me when to get out, and like you don't teach me anything. And
Right.
you know what? And I asked the guy like multiple times a bunch of questions, and he's like, well, you should read the stuff and then like get back to me. It's like, okay, I read through all the stuff, and then I asked him the question again, and he said, well, you should know by now. It's like, oh, great, thanks. And then
That's
the
helpful.
other guy. Yeah, the other guru who I strongly recommend not following is Tim Sykes for penny stocks. So he does pretty much the same thing. He throws alerts out there and does his like live trades and like recaps and all that. But it's penny stocks. It's like if you don't know what you're doing, you're 99% of the time you're gonna lose money.
So
I was lucky enough to have come across Trading Experts while scrolling through Instagram. And I looked into it. They seemed legit. And I met up with, I started messaging Heaven and Chris, the mentors. And I actually got to, have some nice conversations. And they were actually really helpful right off the bat. And
Nice.
so, I followed the steps, read through all the guidebooks, the handbooks, and found my way into Alpha Chat. And, I've been with them ever since, and absolutely love it. My trading mentality and my success has actually changed quite a lot since the beginning of this year.
Nice. So can you remember your first trade? If so, what was going through your mind as you was making that trade?
Yeah, so unlike most people, my first trade was actually a huge success. So what I ended up doing was I didn't know what I was doing back in 2015, but my very first trade was Amazon, and that was trading at $540.
Wow.
in June of 2015. Probably off by 1 month or so, but I remember the exact price I got in, and it's like, you know what? I'll buy in one share, and then like, you know what? I added another two shares. It's like, you know what? I'll just throw my money in there and see what happens. And like, I actually forgot about that trade completely. Like, I completely forgot I threw that money in there because I was so busy with college. And so I transferred schools about a couple years later, and and then I realized, oh, I forgot I had my money in here. So I came back in like 2018, true story, and I sold it for about $1,600 per share. So that it nearly tripled in the time that I was gone. And I and by then I closed out my bank brokerage account. I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna set this aside, keep what I have, and move on from there.
It's a real testament to, what Ben and Shake said, when they say, hold your winners.
Absolutely, absolutely. But
So,
they have two different ways about going about that. One is like, the short-term swing approach
mhm.
versus the long-term hold approach, which Ben is more knowledgeable about, and has a lot of big picture, longer term strategies.
Nice. So, was it overwhelming for you at all consuming all that information trading experts had to offer?
Well, having the finance background, I took classes for maybe 3 to 5 years, so I'm used to it. But if I had no idea what was going on, trading experts, they built it up like step by step, like stepping stones or like building blocks.
Hmm.
So, the fundamentals, learn the very basics of what you should be doing, and then, they keep it very simple. So they don't even teach you any of the, there's two ways of two aspects or primary schools of thought when it comes to trading. It's I don't know if that's the correct word for it, but one would be fundamental analysis, and the other is technical analysis.
Hmm.
Where fundamental analysis is more like the the quarterly reports and the annual reports, and you're studying the ratios. Yep. And then the other one is technical analysis, which is charting and studying the technical indicators such as volume and support and resistance levels and all the different indicators and strategies based off of the chart and price action.
Nice, nice. So, did you have any fears? I mean, you kind of answered it a bit, but did you have any fears about trading in the beginning? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Yes, I definitely had fears in the beginning because I like at the moment I saw red, I'm out. Like I like even $1. So like I bought McDonald's like I don't even know what price it was. It was like say it was like $120 or something, and then like, I saw it go down to 119. Oh, I lost money. I'm out. Like on to the next trade. It's like that was my way of like approaching it when I first started out. And you know what? My biggest fear was like after like going through a couple trades, it's like I haven't found a way to make it consistent and profitable at all. It's like I still had no idea what I was doing. But my biggest fear was losing a lot of money, which gratefully I never have lost more than 30% of my account.
Nice, nice. So, what has been one of your best trades till this date?
Okay, so this is huge thanks to Shake and I think Adam Rav, the $1 million man who was on the previous episode.
Yep,
I
yep.
called out ZM, or I'm sorry, ZS, Zscaler, which is I think it's like a tech company. I don't know the exact details. Let me just take a quick look here.
Yeah.
But I bought it at around $56 a share back at the beginning of March. So March 1st. I remember that's exactly when I entered. I bought about 9 shares. And I know it's like I still have a fairly small account, but I mean I'm still successful with it. And it's what matters is the percent, not the numbers.
Right.
Um, and so I bought at $55, and I followed their trailing stop approach. So where you'd increase or you'd up the stop after every day
Uh-huh.
to the low of the previous day.
Okay.
Or if you're trailing with the 8 simple moving average, you just go along the line and stay right below. And so what I did was I followed their trailing method. I changed from like the prior low of day to the 8 simple moving average after I saw like 3 or 4 days of it continuously rising with increased volume, buyer volume.
Okay.
And so I actually held it for a solid 3, 4 weeks into I think it was like the last week of March is when I finally sold it and got stopped out. And I sold it at about $72 at the very, very peak of its uptrend. So after that day, it took a solid 2 months for it to finally get back to that $72 level. It was at 72 for I don't know how long. Well, after it hit 72, it immediately like did a pullback down to like the high 60s.
Wow.
And so I was watching the chart ever since then, but I never re-entered at that level. So I had to wait till the next setup. Right now, I mean, recently it did have a good setup. So for those of you that entered, congratulations. But I mean, that was my biggest winner because I held it for about a 25% or 25% gain. That was or a chop.
Wow. So what about your worst? Your worst
okay,
trade till this day?
My worst trade, I don't like talking about it, but for bad experiences, that is my go-to. It is a penny stock from before I joined Trading Experts. It's called YECO, YECO. It's no longer listed, so I mean, if you tried looking it up right now, it's not going to be there. But November of last year. So the basic premise is that it was a coal and ore mining company in China, and they switched their strategy because they were in possession of a sapphire, like $1 million sapphire, and they decided, oh, we have this sapphire, and now we want to spread the wealth among the investors, so that every investor can have a piece of that sapphire, essentially. And so that was their idea as a penny stock to use that approach and switch to, you know what, we're gonna do gems and minerals, and then we're gonna create like museums of just art and and like fine priced like extravagant stones. And I think they had like a huge piece of artwork which they had like a huge offering for, and it like so when they first announced it, it was originally trading in the penny zone, right, under $1, and then so eventually it hit $2, and then when they finally came out with that news, it was a 1-day move. It went from $2 all the way up to $17 within hours. That's like oh my God, that's never gonna happen anywhere else. I don't think that's ever gonna happen again, unless like you see a bubble stock, like a weed stock, like when it first came out, you know. But so what I did was I bought in at $7. I held it all the way to like $12. I was like, okay, great. I'm not gonna sell it yet, right? So I sold at like $12. I bought back in, which was my mistake because I used up my day trade, so I didn't have a way out until the next day. I bought in at 12, went up to 17, and then it came crashing right back down the next day to $9. And then at that point, I really wanted to get out, but I couldn't because I had used up my day trade. And so I just watched it in horror as it kept on tumbling down to like $7 before I finally got back out, like below break even actually. So I originally got in at $9, but I lost a lot. I'm gonna be completely honest with you here, for the sake of discrepancy and learning. Don't do this, but I lost $2,500, which was a huge chunk of money for me. And you know what? It's been a rough uphill battle ever since. But you know what? With experts, it's like gradually climbing the hill back up. So I'm never gonna make that mistake again.
Definitely, and that's something that trading experts, are like on you about. So, what have you learned besides trading, of course, from being in the trading experts alpha chat room? Like anything you can use in your everyday life?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so the alpha chat is comprised of over 200 members right now, who have all gone through all the handbooks and learned the process, how to successfully swing trade. And the uniqueness about trading experts is that we're a collection, like a collective whole of individuals who all follow the same, who all have similar goals and strategies, but we're all unique and different in our own ways, and we all have different different entrepreneurial mindsets, and some of us have different companies and trying to promote certain products, and it's just amazing to find out how diverse our group is. But you know what? The one thing that we have in common is that we all like to support each other and build each other up each and every day. So no matter where you are, whether you're starting out with $1 or $10 or $100, it's like our goals are all the same. It's consistent growth and always learning, always learning.
Awesome. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, to find a group of people. And what's funny is that, there's this saying that I saw somewhere that, I mean, it kind of applies where like close friends and family don't really support you, but you find other people, strangers, and like people across the world somehow who like are your biggest fans and support you and like want you to like continue to grow, like you said, just wanting to that consistent growth. So it's amazing to constantly hear, out of all the interviews that I've done in the last couple of days with members from Trading Experts, including Ben and Shake, it's great to hear. And it's a testament to how supportive and how together everyone is without even being in the same state. I'm assuming there are people from all over the world who are in that chat and are just continuing to support each other and wanting everyone to grow together.
Yeah, and I think one of the most interesting things about Trading Experts that makes it completely different from all the other trading communities out there is that, you have those top elite gurus, like the leaders, like for Trading Experts would be Ben and Shake,
right?
Who have reached that level of expertise and like where they've amassed that amount of money in their accounts. It's like, oh, I hit over 1 million in my account. It's like, so there's different perspectives when you think about it, but most people, they either think about it positively or negatively, and that's based on each person's individual mindset. But the thing about Trading Experts is that you actually we don't actually say, oh, we made it $1 million, you can do it too. Right. It's like we actually walk you through step by step of like our approach to do it, so you can replicate the same exact steps. And we're every single member of Alpha Chat is completely open and honest and always willing to help out no matter what. And I think that's the openness and communication within the chat is like one of the number one things that I absolutely love about it.
And like you mentioned, it's other programs and communities out there say, oh, we made $1 million, you can do it too. With Trading Experts, it's like, we made $1 million, come make more millions with us, like we'll do it together. Yep. So that's what I really love about them as well.
And also it's no negative bashing either, that I've seen, unless they do something ridiculous, like trading penny stocks, for example.
Yeah. Ben is not keen on that. So let's shift topics a bit and let's talk about some interesting stuff that I'm sure you're excited about talking as much as I am. So jumping right into it. So when did you first get interested in running?
Oh boy, probably as a child. I first started out with soccer when I was 5. I've been playing, I played soccer every year since then, up to like when I was in high school, and then I switched to marching band. But after that, I took up soccer again in college and actually became the president of my soccer club at Fordham in New York City. And nice. You know what, that definitely helped out big time. I always loved running as a kid, but I never took it seriously, like competitively running or anything, like even running a mile. I never did anything more than a mile unless I had to in a gym class. But I started taking up running again about almost 3 years ago now. I think late 2017. Yeah, so actually 2 years. But Yeah, so late 2017, one of my friends, one of my fraternity brothers, he got me into a local 5K. So he said, "Hey, you know what? Anybody who's around and should do a 5K with me." It's like, okay. It's like, might as well do it. It sounds fun. You know what? How hard could it be, right?
Right.
And it was in November. It was like freezing temperatures. It was like 30s, 40s. It's like I didn't even wear gloves. I made the mistake of not wearing gloves. I had my hands like it was nearly frostbitten, and I was like stopping every couple minutes just to walk it out.
Wow.
And I actually finished in like 37 minutes, which for me was slow, but
I mean, for running your first, competitive, uh, you know, running is pretty impressive to me.
yeah, it's well, I mean, it's everybody has their own pace, but the number one goal, I guess, would be to cross the finish line, of course, and make sure you can actually complete the whole thing, even if it's only 3.1 miles. It's a testament to your fitness and to each person's standards. Everybody has their own goals, so there is no one right or wrong way to there's nothing wrong with being slower than somebody else.
So, what has the sport of running done for your life in the past 2 or 3 years?
Oh, okay. So I've definitely felt a change, metabolically, and physiologically. I feel better. Um, I'm actually shocked that I'm able to run at the speeds that I am sometimes. Like my last race was a 5 mile race, which you probably won't find anywhere else. There's only a few of those, but I did the first mile right out the gate. I tried to keep up with the elite running group, like the first 10 or 12 people
Right,
that are in
right,
every race.
right.
And I kept up with them for a solid mile or so, and then I dropped out gradually. But I did it in like 6 minutes 36 seconds. For me, that was my
Nice.
fastest timed mile in a race, and it was just amazing to see that I could actually do that. But running, it feels good and it makes you feel better. And also, I think most people don't think about this, but it's a great way to de-stress. Like you completely forget about everything else that you're thinking about. Like if you have worries from your job or something going on with your life, you completely forget about that and just focus on enjoying the outside or like trying to focus on your footsteps and just enjoying nature and whatever's out there. I like running outside more than inside uh, most of the time.
Nice. And, to add on to that as well, I mean, I'm no runner myself, and I, hate cardio if it's not, playing sports like baseball, basketball, that stuff. But I've come to realize as well that whenever I go to the gym and I'm like sore the next day, instead of going back to the gym, busting my behind, working out some more, I actually do some cardio and I try to run like a mile or two. And that, like you said, it takes the stress away. But whenever you're feeling sore, it sort of takes that soreness away because you're running and your mind is somewhere else.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can get injuries from running too if you're not doing it correctly. And
Of
also,
course.
if you don't stretch before and after.
Right.
Like for example, my first and only marathon so far
Hmm.
was Philadelphia last year, and I was on track for a 4 hour marathon, but then or a 9 minute mile pace, and which was probably closer to like a 4.5 hour. But by mile 16, I probably injured my both my calves, and like to the point where it hurt to take a step. Like how when you take one long stride,
Right, right.
it works the hamstrings and the calves and the IT band. Well, both the calves like they both cramped to the point where I couldn't run anymore. So it hurt to like slow run, and I had to like eventually slow down to a walk. And the worst thing was that miles 14 to 20 was all uphill, so I had to do like a whole 6 miles of walk runs.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
as a marathon runner now, what kind of training goes into preparing for a marathon?
Oh, okay. So I'm fortunate enough to have a marathon trainer locally. who sold me my marathon shoes. I came across him through my running friend,
Nice.
and he he's been coaching me like every week by week or every 2 weeks or so, and he gives me the week by week workouts,
Okay.
which I should be doing, which different runs for every day throughout the week. There's a mix of tempo runs and intervals and speed workouts that you should do. Also, of course, 1 to 2 rest days a week, as well as one long run every week, which is to improve your endurance and build up your red blood cells so that you can, produce more, have more oxygen flowing through your body and have more energy in your muscles.
Nice.
So you can run longer. And speed comes after endurance. So that's why we focus more on being able to put in those miles even at a slower pace, and then the speed comes naturally.
So, what kind of mental preparation needs to occur to be qualified to run a marathon?
Oh, I wouldn't say there's any qualifications per se that I know of, but you definitely have to approach it differently. Like you can't just think of it as, oh, I'm going to go out there and do 26.2 miles.
Right, right.
So the way that he explained it to me is that I should be breaking it down into sections. So 26.2 miles is about slightly more than 8 5Ks, and 5K is like 3.1 miles.
Okay.
So I should be focusing, like chunking them, so that the first couple 5Ks I'll start at a much slower pace and then gradually increase my speed over time. That way, I'll have more energy to have a faster finish in the
Right.
second half, and I'll feel better in the second half as well. And mentally, I think you have to approach it as, you know, first of all, obviously you want, the first time you go out and do a marathon, you definitely want to have a goal of finishing, no matter what the time is.
Right.
Then, you can always work on time goals later, but it's a long time. It's a big challenge, and it's a huge accomplishment if you're able to do that, especially in your life. The number of people that have run a marathon is steadily decreasing, and the same with running in general, which is unfortunate. But there's still, most of the local races that I do, it's like 100, 200 people, sometimes more than a couple thousand, depending on the larger races.
Right.
But I think you definitely have to take it piece by piece and gradually, work your way into it. You can't just, one thing, you can't just go at it all at once, and you can't just do whatever you want. You actually have to stick to the plan.
Right.
Just like with trading, you always have to stick to the plan.
Right.
But and well, with marathon training, if I was to switch from the plan that I'm currently on right now, it would do one of two things. It would either throw off my gradual progress,
Okay.
or it would also, it wouldn't do anything to help me get better with my time and my distance
Okay.
as I get closer to the marathon. Because
Right.
right now, I'm about, just under 12 weeks away from race day.
Nice. So, does the runner's wall exist? If so, what is that?
Okay, that's always been a talk of debate. It's different for each person. Most people say it's mile 22, which makes sense because I did some research into that recently, to like compare what my marathon trainer said versus what other people have said. And so around mile 22, like if you're on track for like a 9 to 10 minute mile pace, you'd end up, well, at that point you'd definitely be over 2.5 hours into the race. And at 2.5 hours, I've been told that that's the amount of time it takes before your body kind of reaches its limit, unless you've like specifically been training for longer distances and like have been working and improving your anaerobic exercises.
All right.
But most people, at 2.5 hours, that's kind of when your body gives up on you. That's why it's best not to do longer runs above that point. So if I were to do a 2.5 hour run today, that would be like pretty much simulating an exact marathon. There's no extra benefits from running longer than that. that I know of, especially for marathon training, that
Right.
is.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's why it should be kept to, stick to the gradual progress. And each week, right now, what I'm doing is what the numbers that change is my long run. So right now I'm at 14 miles for every Sunday is my long run.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's about 2 hours or so, sometimes longer, 2 to 2.5 hours. And then so next week I'm going to be doing 16 miles. The week after it's going to be 14. The week after that it's going to jump up to 16 again, and then I'm going to do 20 from there. And that's the highest amount that I'm going to go. Because beyond 20, you might as well just run the actual thing.
Right. Right.
So, and then after that, once I do 1 week of 20, gradually taper down and scale down so you can get recovery in and prepare yourself for the marathon. So after 20, it goes back down to 16, 14, 12, 10. And so by race day, I should have like 3 or 4 days of rest before I actually run out and do the thing, do the race, and be sure to hydrate a lot and eat well, sleep well, and make sure that I'm ready to go for the day off.
So you kind of like answered it, but closing this out for today, any tips for anyone out there who is thinking about taking up running as a sport?
Yeah, well, let me just give you a quick preview of my running wall. This is my personal wall.
Nice.
It's got about, all my running bibs here. And I also have about 7 or 8 medals so far. Half of them were participation medals, but most recently, this year, I think I've been putting a lot of improvement to the point where I'm able to place second or third, and sometimes even first in my age group, 20 to 30-year-olds, males. So that's, I find it amazing that I'm able to do that. And for newer runners, I think it would be great to just start out simple, go out there, have a jog, go out there for like 15, 30 minutes a day, just go out, enjoy nature, run around in the park or around your house on the streets. And a tip for running on the streets too, never run in the direction, like always go towards the car,
Right.
be on the side. So like, if you're running downhill, you should always be on the left side because the cars are going to be coming towards you.
Right.
And that way, they don't want to always have to like go around and like that would probably cause accidents.
Right.
But, yeah, and always wear something bright, especially if you're running at night. I like running in the evenings, and occasionally in the afternoons on the weekends. But for newer runners, it's just getting out there and just doing your thing. For more experienced runners, I've been told to do 180 steps a minute is the ideal marathon pace, no matter what your speed is. Because if you can do that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 continuously for as long as you can, then you're bound to increase your speed over time.
Nice. Nice. So what about for anyone who wants to start trading in the markets?
For trading in the markets,
any tips?
Definitely check out Trading Experts. We always have a ton of free content on Instagram. There's like new lessons pretty much every day. And the cool thing is that we break down each and every trade, each and every setup, teach you where our entry is, where our exit is, and even bad trades. We review bad trades as well. And also not just trades themselves, but also, financial literacy and advice, in terms of investing in Roth IRAs, 401ks. We have experienced financial professionals who do that for a living. So, and they were former Wall Street traders too. So they do have the credentials to back themselves up. They're not just self-made millionaires, right, like some people claim to be.
Absolutely. All righty. And that's it for today. I mean, I wish we could talk for more hours, man. Andy, thank you so much for joining me today on ParaDeisos. It was such a pleasure sitting down and being able to talk to you about trading, of course, and more impressively, like I mentioned before, about marathon running and running in general.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to see you again someday.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and sitting down and listening to Andy and I speak about trading on Trading Thursdays and about marathon running. Hopefully you guys like the information that he shared. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram. That's ParaDeisos Podcast. On Twitter, ParaDeisos 101. And our website, www.paradeisos.world. And until next time, God bless you all.
Running my race till I'm one of the all-time greats. Skate, running my race till I'm one of the all-time greats. Wait, running my race till I'm one of the